Part 1. The Thin Line. It starts with something so small you'd miss it. A wrong turn. A delayed message. A man deciding not to press a button. And then millions die. June 28, 1914. Sarajevo. The driver of Archduke Franz Ferdinand's car makes a mistake. He turns onto a street he wasn't supposed to take. The car stalls, just for a moment. Standing 10 feet away is a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip. He wasn't even supposed to be there anymore. His earlier assassination attempt had failed, and now the target is right in front of him. He pulls the trigger. 2 shots. That's it. Within 5 weeks, Europe is at war. Within 4 years, 20 million people are dead in what we now call World War I. One wrong turn. That's how thin the line is. Part 2. Decisions that change everything. We like to think wars are decided by strategy, generals, massive armies, complex plans. And yes, they are. But sometimes it comes down to a single human moment. One decision, one hesitation, one instinct, and that changes everything. Stay with me, because there are moments like this scattered all across history. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Part 3. Midway. Let's jump forward. June 1942. The Pacific Ocean.
The United States and Japan are about to collide in what becomes the Battle of Midway.
Japan has 4 aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu. Each carries around 70 aircraft. Elite pilots. Years of experience. The United States, 3 carriers. Less experienced crew, fewer planes. On paper, Japan should win. Easily. At 7:15 a.m., Admiral Chuichi Nagumo faces a decision. His planes are armed for a second strike against Midway Island. But then scout planes report American ships might be nearby. He hesitates. Do you launch now with the wrong weapons? Or rearm your planes for anti-ship attack? He chooses to rearm. It takes about 45 minutes. 45 minutes. During that time, Japanese decks are chaos. Fuel hoses, bombs, torpedoes, planes half-armed. And then American dive bombers appear overhead, completely by chance. They weren't even supposed to be there at that exact moment. In 5 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers are on fire. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, gone. Hiryu follows later that day. Japan loses 4 carriers, over 300 aircraft, and many of its best pilots. It never fully recovers. The balance of power in the Pacific shifts right there. 45 minutes. That's all it took. Part 4. Petrov. The decision not made. Now let's go colder. Much colder. September 26, 1983. Soviet Union. Deep in a bunker outside Moscow, a man named Stanislav Petrov is on duty. His job is simple. Terrifyingly simple. If the system detects incoming American nuclear missiles, he reports it. That report triggers retaliation. Hundreds of nuclear warheads, each one capable of destroying a city. At 0014 a.m., the system lights up. 5 U.S. intercontinental ballistic missiles detected. 5. Not hundreds. Not dozens. 5. Now think like a machine. If you're the United States launching a first strike, do you send 5 missiles? No. You send hundreds. Thousands. Petrov knows this. But the system insists. It's real. Protocol says, report immediately. No delay. He hesitates. This is the moment. He has maybe a few minutes. If he reports it, the Soviet Union launches nuclear retaliation. Full-scale, global annihilation. If he doesn't and he's wrong, his country is destroyed. He makes a decision. He says it's a false alarm. He was right. The system malfunctioned. It had mistaken sunlight reflecting off clouds for missile launches. If Petrov had followed protocol, we wouldn't be here. Not like this. Part 5. Arkhipov. One man says no, but that's not even the closest we've come. October 27, 1962. Height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. A Soviet submarine, B-59, is underwater near Cuba. It's being hunted by U.S. Navy ships dropping practice depth charges. Signals to force it to surface, but the crew doesn't know their practice. They think war has started. Inside the submarine, it's 45 deep, over 110 feet. The air is thick. Communication with Moscow is cut off. Captain Valentin Savitsky believes they are under attack. He orders the nuclear torpedo prepared. Yes, nuclear. A 10-kiloton warhead, about the size of the Hiroshima bomb. To launch it, 3 officers must agree. Savitsky says yes. Political officer Ivan Maslenikov says yes. The 3rd officer, Vasily Arkhipov. He says no. He argues. He insists. He refuses. Minutes pass. Finally, the captain backs down. The torpedo is not launched. The submarine surfaces instead. If Arkhipov had agreed, a nuclear explosion would have hit a U.S. fleet. The U.S. would retaliate, and within hours, full nuclear war. One man, one decision. The world continues. Part 6. Highway of Death. The cost of action. Now let's shift to a different kind of moment. Not nuclear, not global, but still decisive. February 26, 1991. Gulf War. Iraqi forces are retreating from Kuwait along Highway 80. Hundreds of vehicles. Tanks, trucks, civilian cars. It becomes known as the Highway of Death. A U.S. pilot, call sign Bore 51, flying an A-10 Thunderbolt II, spots the convoy. The A-10 is built for this. 30mm GAU-8 fires 3,900 rounds per minute. Each round can shred armored vehicles. But there's a decision to make: attack immediately or hold, because some vehicles might be civilian. The pilot chooses to engage. He fires. Others follow. The convoy is destroyed over hours. Hundreds of vehicles burn. The road becomes a graveyard of metal. Strategically, it accelerates the collapse of Iraqi forces. The war ends within days, but it also becomes controversial. Because in war, a single decision doesn't just change outcomes. It changes how history judges you. Part 7. The pattern. And this is the pattern. Not just big plans, not just massive armies, but these tiny human moments. A driver turning left instead of right. An admiral waiting 45 minutes. An officer choosing not to make a call. A man saying no. That's how wars bend. Part 8. What comes next? But here is where it gets even more interesting. Because the moments we've seen so far, they're mostly accidents, hesitations, gut feelings. What happens when those decisions are deliberate? When someone sees the moment and takes it? Because the next set of decisions, they weren't mistakes. They were choices, calculated, intentional, and they didn't just change battles. They rewrote entire wars. And the next one, it starts with a single order. At exactly 40 a.m. Part 1. D-Day, the beach that almost failed. June 6, 1944. The English Channel. 00 a.m. Thousands of Allied soldiers are packed into landing craft, heading toward the beaches of Normandy. The largest amphibious invasion in history, what we now call D-Day. The plan is massive. 56,000 troops, 5,000 ships, 11,000 aircraft. But right now, everything depends on a handful of decisions made in the dark. Let's zoom in on one beach, Omaha, the bloodiest one. Part 2. Omaha. Chaos on the shore. German defenses here are brutal. Concrete bunkers, interlocking machine gun fire. Artillery zeroed in on the shoreline. The Allies expected resistance. They did not expect this. The first wave lands and gets slaughtered. Within minutes, entire units are wiped out. Soldiers pinned behind obstacles. Nowhere to go. Water turning red. Commanders offshore start to panic. There's a real question now. Do we pull back? Part 3. The decision at Omaha. General Omar Bradley considers it. If Omaha fails, the entire invasion could collapse. But then on the beach, something happens. Not a grand strategy. Not a coordinated maneuver. Just small groups of soldiers deciding not to stay pinned. Lieutenant John Spaulding, one of many junior officers, starts leading men up the bluffs. Using gaps in the defenses. No orders, no clear plan, just instinct. Part 4. Turning the tide. Other groups follow. They start taking out German positions from the sides and rear, places the bunkers weren't designed to defend. By noon, the beach is still chaos, but it's no longer a massacre. It's a foothold. Omaha holds. The invasion holds. Western Europe starts to fall back into Allied hands. One decision: don't retreat. Keep moving. Part 5. The bigger impact. That's the difference between a failed invasion and the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. Part 6. Iraq. The risky push. Now fast forward. 203. Iraq. A U.S. armored column is pushing toward Baghdad, the capital, the objective, but then it runs into resistance near a place called Kerbala Gap. Iraqi forces are waiting. Tanks, Artillery. Defensive positions. The safe move? Stop. Regroup. Wait for reinforcements. Part 7. A bold call. Instead, a Commander Colonel David Perkins makes a call. Push through. At night. Full speed. No pause. No hesitation. They advance under cover of darkness, using speed and shock to break through Iraqi lines before they can fully react. It works. The defenses collapse. The road to Baghdad opens faster than expected. Part 8. Rapid collapse. Within weeks, Baghdad falls. The regime collapses. And it all hinges on a decision that on paper looked reckless. But war isn't paper. Part 9. Ukraine. A new battlefield. Now let's come to something recent. Very recent. Ukraine. 2022. A different kind of battlefield. Not just tanks and artillery. Drone. Cheap ones. Commercial ones. Modified in garages. Part 10. One man, one drone. A 28-year-old IT worker, call him Andrei, joins a volunteer unit. 6 months earlier, he was writing code for a startup. Now, he's flying a $1,500 drone. His target? A Russian tank worth $3 million. Part 11. The strike? He hovers above it, waits, lines it up, drops a modified grenade. Direct hit. The tank is disabled. Crew abandons it, all for the cost of a used laptop. Part 12. A pattern repeats. This happens again and again and again, thousands of times. According to open-source analysts like Oryx, hundreds of Russian armored vehicles are destroyed or damaged this way. Not by missiles, not by airstrikes, by individuals making split-second decisions with cheap tools. Part 13. The AHA moment. And here's the AHA moment. Most people think wars are decided by the most powerful weapons, the biggest tanks, the fastest jets, the most expensive technology. That used to be true. It isn't anymore. Part 14. The broken math. Because now, a $1,500 drone can destroy a $3 million tank. A soldier with a tablet can do what used to require an air force. The math is broken. Completely broken. Part 15. A new doctrine, and every military on Earth knows it. The Pentagon's 2024 reports talk about distributed lethality, which sounds complicated, but it just means this. Instead of a few powerful weapons, you have thousands of small ones everywhere. Hard to detect, hard to stop, and each one is controlled by a human, making decisions, moment by moment. Part 16. Back to the core. So now we're back to where we started. Not just technology, not just strategy, but people, a driver, an admiral, an officer, a pilot, a programmer, each one facing a moment, each one making a choice. Part 17. The outcome. Some hesitate. Some act. Some get it wrong. Some get it exactly right. And when they do, history moves fast. Part 18. What war really is, because war isn't just about power. It's about timing. And timing comes down to moments, small ones, fragile ones, moments where everything could go one way or the other. Part 19. The final thought. And you never know which moment matters most until it already has. One decision. That's all it takes.